So Gauss elimination now. Step 1, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Now, Abdurrahman?
Augmentation.
Exactly, augmentation. Okay. So we need to augment this matrix with vector B. Okay, and we said the size will grow from n by n to n by n plus 1. If your system was a 3 by 3, that will be 3 by 4.
4.
The system was 5 by 5, then 5 by 6. Okay, augmentation. طيب. الحين, what shall we do now? What shall we do? We need to see the pivot and the element below the pivot, we make it 0, right? Then the element below the pivot, we make it 0. Right. So what shall I do for this process? I say rho 2 minus certain lambda multiplied by rho 1. Okay. So how much is this lambda? المفروض الحين الصورة واضحة بالنسبة لكم.
4 over 2.
بالعكس علي.
2 over 4.
2 over 4 هذا.
2 over 4. So مرة واحدة بس بسويها هني. 2 4 minus 2 and 2 4 2 1 1. إذا في شيء ما كان واضح وقفوني سألوني. Raise your hand or jump in and using the mic. Try to follow the chat as well if that is possible. طيب, what was lambda, guys? One more time. 2 over 1 minus, طبعا minus because of that, minus 2 over 4, which is 1 over 2. Okay? So 2 times 4 over 2, that is 0. 4 minus 2 over 2, that is 3. Minus 2 minus half. How much is that?
3 over 2.
Minus 2 minus half, right?
Negative 5 over 2.
4 over 2 minus 5 over 2, isn't it?
Yes.
2 minus half.
3 over 2. 3 over 2.
3 over 2.
Okay, sure. So we are done with this row now. Okay. أحتاج أعتقد أمحي هالكلام شوية. And I can calculate the next row now. Okay, I can move to the next row. So again, row 3 minus lambda. Okay, this lambda is a new lambda. Row 1. دائما شباب البيفت الحين هذه كم المفروض تكون؟
1 over 4.
1 over 4. Okay. So 4 1 minus 2 4 3 and 4 and 2 and 2 and 1 and 1 and the pivot is minus طبعا 1 over 4. Guys, do that operation. Okay. Do that yourself. Once you do that, let me know because I need to move to the next pivot. I will pause here for a few seconds.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay. If you are done, just
done, Doctor.
okay. ناصر وأحمد محمد وعلي محمد وأنس وأنوار ويعقوب هادي.
معاكم دكتور قاعد أحسب.
Okay.
خلصنا دكتور.
Okay. All right. So that should be 0. This, how much is it?
Minus 2.5.
Okay. اللي بعدها
15 over 4.
3.75.
15 over
4.
4. Okay. اللي بعدها
11 over 4.
11 over 2. Do you all agree on that? الناس اللي حسبوها.
دكتور 11 over 4 not 11 over 2.
Yeah, which is exactly what I wrote, right?
Yes.
11 over 4 دكتور.
Okay, بالضبط I delay. I made a mistake, sorry. شكرا علي. Okay. المهم that is the one. 5, 5, 2.5. Okay. Then what shall we do? We move to the next pivot, right? We move to the next pivot and make sure that that becomes 0. Guys, go through that process right now. I will just write it over here. This is row 3 minus another lambda multiplied by row 2. Do that operation and tell me how much are those values, the new values. If you are done, just raise your hand, please. Okay.
Okay, Dr. Done.
Okay. So far we have 2 students. Okay, so that for sure is 0. How much? By the way, how much is this lambda?
Negative 5 over 2 all over 3. The same as negative 5 over 6.
By 3. كم total تصير؟
Negative 5 over 6. Same.
Okay, 5 over 6. Okay, and that is 0. How much is this value?
5 over 3.
5 over 3 دكتور.
Okay, with that value?
4.
4 دكتور.
All right. So we managed to do the factorization, right? That is the lower triangular matrix, and this is the upper triangular matrix. All the elements. Okay, this part above, what do we call it? That is the
U matrix.
U matrix, right? That is the U matrix. It's
Yeah.
an upper triangular matrix. Okay, you may lower your hands now. Right, next, that is the solution. We'll go through how can we find a solution. I described this kind of algorithm last time. We started from the pivot, we go to the next item or next row, then we move to the next row, then we move to the next row until we hit the last row. So we started from pivot 1, pivot equal to 1. Then you move on from P plus 1 all the way to N. عدد دائما P plus 1. Then we move to the next pivot, and pivot equal to 2. So we'll start from 2 plus 1, اللي هو 3. And we do the operation all the way to until N. And so on. So you can see that we have kind of 2 motions, one across the rows, one across the columns. And the column, we don't go all the way to N. We don't need that column. صح? We stop at N minus 1. So from 1 all the way to N minus 1. That is the thing. For K equal to 1 all the way to N minus 1. And we end this loop. طيب شباب? And K is just an index. index for what? For the column. The other loop is for the rows from I equal to k plus 1 اللي هو اللي كنا نقول عنه pivot plus 1, okay, all the way to n, all the way to n. What do we need to calculate? We need to calculate lambda, we need to calculate the elements in the U, we need to calculate the elements in the C vector, right? So how to calculate the lambda? Lambda is basically, look at this, AIK, I is for the row, K is for the column, divided by the pivot value. ممكن انك دائما نقسم على البيفت. قبل شوي كنا نقسم على البيفت, and that pivot is always KK. Okay? Is that clear? يمكن هني مثلا شنو كنا نسوي؟
Clear.
كنا نقول 3 قسمت مثلا إذا هذه 2. Okay? 3 قسمت 2. Right? That is basically lambda. If you think about the 3 has the index of A 3, 1 divided by البيفت اللي هو 2 عبارة عن ال A 1, 1 because you are at the first column, right? دائما the pivot has rows and columns of which are equal. Right, we calculated the lambda. What do we need to do next? We need to calculate the new row, the entire row that we have. Okay? How we can calculate the new row equals the old row minus lambda multiplied by the pivot row. By the pivot row. هذه يعني كأنك تقول column A1 J طبعا بمعنى انهم كلهم السطر كامل. The whole row, the whole equation, sorry, the whole columns, all the equations, all the elements of that equation. Okay? And similarly for the B which we augmented with matrix A. Okay? Equals the old one multiplied by lambda multiplied by the pivot. Okay? So that is the factorization. We have done it manually, and this is the scheme for doing it using a code. Type. Note that K is basically this is a smarter way for reducing the calculation, but we can think about J as the entire row. All right. طيب. الحين we have done the factorization. شباب, we will do several exercises on MATLAB on how can we do the factorization using MATLAB. So if you did not understand this, that's fine. We will go through it several times. Okay. Now the backward substitution. We have the factorized matrix now. This is matrix U. This is unknown X vector, and that is C, the new C vector. So guys, I want to find the values of x1, x2, all the way to xn. Which one do you think I should start with? Shall I start with the first row or the last row?
The last row.
Okay. Why? Okay, that's correct. But why do I need to start with the last row rather than the first row?
Because we only have one variable.
Because we have only one variable. كل القيم اللي هنا شباب, all the values which are here, the coefficients of matrix U are zeros. So 0 multiplied by x1 is 0, 0 multiplied by x2 is 0, 0 multiplied by x3 is 0, and so forth, and so on, and unless this value n multiplied by xn equal to cn. The only variable is, sorry, the only unknown is xn. Can we solve for xn now? Okay, we solve for xn now. We have it, right? So
Yes, Doctor, we have.
that is done now. This is done now. xn is a known quantity now. xn is a known quantity. So what shall we do next?
الاكس ان شنو حسبتها دكتور؟
نعم انور.
الاكس ان شنو حسبتها؟
الاكسن شلون حسبتها؟
نعم.
قسم هذه طبعا هاي رقم. This is a coefficient. خلينا نقول whatever value 3. وهذه another coefficient which is another value which we know of course 2 or whatever. So xn equal to 2 over 3. واضح او ما كنت it was very abstract for you.
اي فهمتك دكتور.
Okay. All right. So just imagine the previous case. When the previous case, هذه. And then a 5 over 3. Okay, 5 over 3, 5 over 3 multiplied by x3 equal to 4. Can we calculate x3? It is 4 divided by 5 over 3. اللي عبارة عن 12 over 5. All right? So that is the value, that is x3. Now we need to move up. ارجع مرة ثانية. So xn is known. What shall I do next? I need to move to the next row. And minus 1. And in this case, لا خلينا نمحي كذا الكلام مرة ثانية. Now what do we have? I have un minus 1 n minus 1. That thing is multiplied by xn minus 1 plus that coefficient multiplied by xn. un minus 1 comma n multiplied by xn, and that thing equals cn minus 1. شباب, and this equation, this is a coefficient. هذه شباب كل القيم الموجودة في الuse are coefficients which we know. This is known, that is known, cn minus 1 is known, xn we just found it, right? مو قبل شوي وجدنا xn. So the only unknown is xn minus 1. Can we find it? Just cn minus 1 minus, take it to the other side, un minus 1 comma n xn, correct? The whole thing equals this stuff. So xn minus 1 equals the right hand side divided by this coefficient un minus 1 comma n minus 1. نعم علي.
دكتور we are assuming ان square matrix and number of columns يساوي number of rows يساوي n.
We are not assuming. This approach is for a square matrix.
Okay.
This approach is for number of equations equal to the number of unknowns. Yeah. Okay. طيب شباب, after doing that, is xn minus 1 known now? وجدنا القيمة صح؟ Correct. Now we have two quantities. Now, so what shall we do? We move up, and we do the same. We repeat the same exercise. That quantity multiplied by xn minus 1. That quantity multiplied by xn minus xn minus 1. I should say xn minus 2 over there. And this quantity is multiplied by xn. That quantity is known. This quantity is known. This is the only unknown, right? We can solve for it. We can solve for it with the same approach. Is the algorithm clear? Is the approach clear or not? في أحد عنده أي مشكلة في اللي قاعد يصير؟
أنا ما فهمت دكتور.
Okay, so I assume you understood that. So this is about what we call it the backward substitution. الحين symbolically, this is what's happening. إذا تركزون وياي في هالجزء. This equation says, the last equation says yn, n of xn equal to cn. We can solve for. أعتقد أمحيها هذه خلاص. I think you understand the idea now. Okay. All right. So xn equal to the right-hand side divided by the pivot. Now we move up. This is the second equation from the bottom part. Okay. Again, this is known. This is the only unknown. These are coefficients, so we know them. We can solve for xn minus 1. Xn minus 1 equal to the following quantity. We move up to the next line. This is a variable which we found. This is another variable which we found. This is unknown. These are coefficients, so we know them, correct? We can solve for xn minus 1, so xn minus 2, so that xn minus 2 equals blah, blah, blah. Okay? This is what's meant by the backward substitution. How can we code that? How we can code that? We can do it using a for loop. But this time you will not start from 1, right? ما تبتدي من 1 وانت نازل. بتبتدي you will start from n all the way to 1. So that's why the starting point is n. This time the step is minus 1. You are going backward with a step of 1. That's why you have the minus all the way to the first row. Okay. واللي كنا نسويه شباب هني manually over there is coded in this way. I will do it for one arbitrary case. Just imagine the following. احنا الحين في السطر الخامس. Okay, 5, the fifth one. Okay, and 6 by or 7 by 7. So we have x7 over there, x6, and here we have x5. C7, C6, and C5. Okay. You have U77, U76, U7. U66.
دكتور اللي على اليمين isn't it U67?
67, correct, yeah. U6, U57, U56, and U55. All these coefficients are known quantities, right? Okay. So since we are at that row and we need to find x5, this means these quantities are known. We already found them, correct?
Yes,
Hey,
doctor.
Doctor.
Okay, so now in order to find x5, based on this approach, this says if you want to find this quantity x5, so this means based on this this scheme, it is C5, okay, C5 minus what? Minus all the values after the pivot. All the values after the pivot. يعني these two quantities. Why? Because these two coefficients are multiplied by known quantities. x5 and x6 are known. So can I go U56 times x6 plus U57 times x7 and أسف ما عندي مجال وايد. The whole thing is divided by the pivot U55. Is that clear?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, we will do something which will simplify our methodology of finding the solution. But basically, this is the backward substitution. This is the concept of backward substitution. Okay, starting from the end, from the last equation, and moving up all the way to the first row. All right. طيب شباب. You have 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. Okay. Before the end of this lecture, the first lecture. So guys, can you go through this exercise in 10 minutes, and we will do it by hand. You will do it basically by hand. And make sure you can retrieve these values for U and C, for U and C. Because if you can do it for one time, then moving to MATLAB is quite easy. All right, I will pause over here for 10 minutes and make sure that everyone is done with this exercise. When you are done, guys, when you are done, just make sure that you put your work under your name. So, for example, Abdurrahman, class notes, okay? Make sure you put your work over there. And at the end of the semester, I will basically evaluate your work in the class, which has, I think, certain percentage according to the syllabus based on your notebook over here. Is that clear?
What should we do, Doctor? Solve the system.
Basically, make sure you can do the factorization by hand. Okay.
So we write the same matrices as 3 matrices.
يعني we'll say that row 2 minus lambda row 1 in order to factorize the first row 2. Then you will move to row 3 minus lambda row 1. Okay, in order to factorize that. Then you will jump to row. You are over here, right? So row 3 minus lambda row 2. Okay.
So we write the matrices as well as the operations.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just placing that in order just to double check that your calculation was correct. I'm saving you some time. Okay, I will wait. Okay, we have less than 10 minutes.
يس دكتور